$175. And then
I was in high school. He was like, how much money you have in your pocket?
Yeah, he sold them for 10 cents.
He's from Morgantown, West Virginia?
Weirton.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's not all too far.
Yeah, but he's pretty cool because he offers knife making classes, and all you gotta do is go down there, and he will teach you how to hollow grind.
I've heard that.
And
very cool.
Yeah, and make knives, and you leave there knowing basically how to make a knife. It might take a few days. I don't know that, but he's had a lot of people, and he makes.
We should really go down there and record that.
Remember that video I have?
Yeah, we do have some video
of
that.
But vintage footage of him making knives.
Yeah.
And he stops and does some what kind of dancing does he do?
Oh, I don't know, like some West Virginia step dancing.
Yeah, he'd do some some
West Virginia two-step.
One time he got out the spoons. He's flipping the spoons in his hand, clicking spoons around.
West Virginia bluegrass.
He used to. He put so much sugar in that sweet tea, and you give it to your kids and have them go run around the field.
Yeah, he made the sassafras tea. It was more like syrup. It was just, and we went down there. It was when my daughter was 2 or 3. She's 16 now, and you never saw a sugar fit until you see West Virginia made sassafras tea that's 90% sugar.
Tastes like what? Dr. Pepper.
It's just
it tastes like a spoonful of sugar.
And Dr. Pepper syrup, just
concentrate.
She's running down this huge hill, running down.
He's laughing the whole time.
Yeah, he still talks about that. I said, remember when I gave your daughter that? Yeah, I remember. She didn't sleep for 3 days.
Oh man!
All right, let me pull another question up here. This is from Sketching Carpenter for all. Was there a defining point at which you knew you had made it as a knife maker and craftsman?
I would like to answer that first.
Okay.
When Chuck Richards came to our podcast, we knew that.
We knew we were big time.
We knew we made it.
Come on.
Good answer.
Yeah, I still don't feel like. There's always stuff to learn. There really is. I don't feel in any way that I've made it or anything like that.
That's a humble answer. But
I just like making tools.
No, I agree with you.
Really, that's all it is, really.
But I think you'll agree with me. There's no greater feeling than to make something at your house, in your garage, that you put a lot of love and care in that someone's willing to pay you for. It's a pretty amazing thing.
Yeah, when I first started, I was just making them because it was kind of a challenge. I wanted to see if I could do it. I'd bought a few customs, and I thought to myself, "Gee, can I do that?" And about my third knife with real steel, I think I tried a couple with 52-100, maybe 5160, and then I bought some Elmax, some M4, and some S35. And about the third knife, I had a 1x30. I don't even think I knew what ceramic belts were. I think I was using aluminum oxide belts. The thing would stall out every time you put a little bit of pressure on there. About the third knife, something just clicked. And like I was showing you guys my Elmax camp knife, that it's maybe the 5th knife I made. Something just clicked, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. So I started doing YouTube videos, and of just stuff I was making. I hadn't planned on selling anything. So I would get, back then, I think it was, I don't know about, I haven't done a YouTube video in years, but back then you could private message people easily. I don't know about now, but
No idea.
so I would start getting, I would start getting messages. Hey, can you make me one of those? I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not?
Well, there you go, right there. First message on one of your knife.
I still remember the first knife I sold. I still remember the guy I sold it to. It was a tiny. I called it a mini cleaver.
Mm-hmm.
I had never heard of mini cleavers back then. Now there's so many. It's a hot thing. Cleavers.
Yeah, it's definitely a buzz design now.
It was kind of a reverse Tanto cleaver, just really a utility tool. I think it was N690, and I put some carbon fiber on there, made a Kydex sheath, and, I think it was maybe 120, 130 bucks or something like that. But went on to made a run of those because guys just kept wanting them from me. A couple girls, and ended up making myself one, and it's still in the kitchen, and I use it and my wife uses it for just ripping stuff open and whatnot,
Cool.
But I keep the counselor in my pocket at all times, so that's pretty much, it needs sharpened a little bit, but
Is this a custom?
I mean, I get parts cut out and stuff like that.
We allow that. That's okay.
Yeah.
Next question. This is for Andrew specifically.
Oh, thank you.
Will there be a cold steel version of the Scorpion lock?
That's a wonderful.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
I suggest that anybody who is interested in that question, they should email Cold Steel and say, "Hey, will there ever be a Scorpion Lock Cold Steel production knife?"
What's the email?
Oh, I don't know. Whoever you email Cold Steel.
info@coldsteel.com.
No, I don't even know if that's a real email.
No, I don't think it is.
I'm sure you can find it on their website.
That's a possible thing.
Interesting.
Now, we kind of also discussed this on the earlier podcast, but I'm probably saying this wrong, 6'8", asks.
That's Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, he has one of my fixed blades.
Okay. What was your final motivation that got you to make your first knife, and what was the biggest lesson you learned from making your first knife? I think we talked about that life lesson last podcast.
Say that again, John. What?
What was the final motivation that got you to make your first knife, and what was the biggest lesson you learned from making your first knife?
Wow, it's pretty deep. I'm thinking about ham sandwiches over here. I don't know, Mike.
Well, we kind of touched on this already.
Yeah, just you sum it up.
The big lessons, I think, was don't buy a good piece of steel for your first knife because it's probably not going to turn out that well. And no matter what picture you have in your head, that knife is not going to look like that picture you have in your head. Anywhere
Good
close.
point.
Unless you're really skilled and really lucky,
Right.
You're gonna be disappointed.
That's a very good point.
Because I know my first ones were beyond crude. Crude would be a compliment if somebody said it looks crude. So yeah, that would be my thoughts on that.
Cool.
It's a good answer. I know, like I had mentioned when something had clicked, that's when I was able to make a knife how I wanted it to look. I would just draw on the steel, but then my grinding would, allow it to, I figured out, using different pressures and yada yada, not to screw it up, go slow, and yeah, it's a good answer. I like that. You're
Thank
wise. Very wise.
What about motivation to get started making knives?
Well,
I'm going to say for you two, it's just because you're jackasses.
Because I wanted to do dumb shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys wanted to sword fight and shit.
The motivation was Mom and Dad wouldn't buy me a sword. Here was the thing.
Exactly.
My dad, he tricked me. He said if you get on, and I showed him. He said if you get on a roll, and that was so dumb. If you get on a roll, I'll buy. Well, anyway, if you get on a roll, I'll buy you a sword set. But guess what? I never got on a roll. I was such a horrible student. However, I said, well, then the hell with that, I'll make a sword. And that goes back to last week, so I spent all winter drilling and chiseling and cutting out the sword blade. So yeah, the motivation was I couldn't get it, so I had to make it, which is a good answer for a lot of things.
I was gonna say
I've never made a sword.
It's just like a knife, but bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. More expensive, but
Yeah.
it's fun. I don't do anything like that now. It's just too labor intensive. Even choppers, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, the biggest thing I ever made was a
I could really
competition
either grind a
chop.
folder.
Yeah, well, exactly. Those are labor intensive as well.
Yeah.
Grady09 wants to hear some sharpening talk. He's a you met him
I
at
know
the.
exactly. He's a sharpening guru already.
I know he posted a video on the Facebook page like splitting the hair like 3 times.
Well, he had to show some knife out at the New York show. Had a beautiful polished edge, and I go, "Oh, did you? What's that thing? Wicked edge?
Yeah.
You use? So did you wicked edge that?" He said, "No, I just freehand."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Holy shit!" Because it was looked perfect and polished. Some people can hold that stone and cut that stone in or cut the blade away, whatever you do.
Mm-hmm.
Not me. But yeah, he can sharpen that guy.
Yeah, we should have him on here answering his own question.
Yeah. Ask him how's he do it so well.
Well, there's so many devices out there now to sharpen. You know, you've got the KME. I know Knife Guy
Mm-hmm.
asked a question or something like that. Made a comment. His name is Brian. He's a rep for KME, and he can really sharpen. You know, I mean, mirror edge and all this that. You know, I don't do mirror edge. More, you know, but I like them.
I like him too, but it takes too long.
Yeah. You know,
Is there-
I mean,
is there an
if
advantage?
it
It
could,
runs too fast.
if it could shave my arm or my face, and I can manscape with it, then
course.
it's good enough.
Yeah.
Are there
Yeah.
any advantages to a mirror edge?
Well, I mean, it could be sharper, but
Less
That's-
friction.
at some point, how sharp does it need to be? You know,
Yeah,
I
unless
guess
you
that's
really,
my question. Is it?
Not for me, no. You know my sharpening techniques, so no. Although I love to see my knives that guys put mirror edges on and take pictures. You know, and they show like the reflection of flowers
Yes.
on the
Yeah,
grain
yeah.
edge there. It's pretty awesome. I do like that, but I don't like. And I know you don't, John. Like
Oh,
putting mirror edges on.
I do not.
I mean, you could do it just with a strop and some compounds, sitting there watching TV, just for hours. Just sit there and bing dong, you know, boom, boom, boom. You know,
I don't have the best.
Yeah,
oh, torture.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll throw on, you know, some high grit something on a strop, and you know, as few passes as I can until I get it to where it's basically will cut me if I run my finger down it, and good to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. My theory is I need it to be really, really, really sharp so people try to either, shave hair off their arm, and like, well, it pops hair off. But other than that, that's it. And I consider edges consumable. People will complain, the edge is uneven or blah, 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 this, that. Well, it's like, to me, it's like batteries in a flashlight. If you're buying a knife and you're using it, the edge is consumable. So if it's not 100% perfect, well, after it gets dull and you resharpen it, maybe you make it a little bit better. But, if you want it mirror edged or a different angle or a different finish,
People always ask me what angle to sharpen at. Is it sharpened at, and what to sharpen at?
I use 18 degrees per side is my goal.
Yours are very sharp. I have my
Thank you. Very nice.
I have
of you
my
to say.
I have my 80-15 with me, and it's very, very sharp.
I do 18 because a lot of guys will use the Spyrico. What's that called? The
Sharp maker.
Sharp maker. Yeah, love that thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And those are set on 20. So if you're 18, it's already steeper, and then the 20 will always hit it. That's why I do that, because the 20 will put a micro bevel on the 18.
I think what you're holding right there is 17 degrees per side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or at least it was before I was just live on Instagram the other day at Mosquito Lake, and someone was saying, "Hey, walk out there."